Peace, YouTube. Peace, YouTube. This is FleurBrun coming to you today with a Halloween special. So this is a breaking a code video. I've broken the matrix simulation code, and with that said, this information already is going to have a certain amount of resistance. Wait, hold on. Is anyone here? Is anyone here? Just let me know if you're here. Yes, perfect. Okay. You know what? I didn't like your response, so I'm going to remove you from the channel. If you're disrespectful and saying like, geez, when is it gonna start? I took you off, okay? That's disrespectful. If you're coming on, especially on my channel, I represent a certain kind of energetic field. And if you aren't appreciative of the information and you're being inappropriate as far as like asking how come I'm taking so long or so on. It's like going to someone's house and like, geez, when is the meal coming? I just removed you. You aren't welcome inside of the room anymore, okay? I have very little tolerance, y'all. Especially with this kind of information. This is a purple pill video. I always let you know when the video is coming on and it's being purple pilled. So I always have to give you the PSA? What is it? What is the, I have to give you like a warning before I start this, and also ask for permission to share this information. So let me say hello, everyone. Greetings on that's right, public service announcement. Thank you, Celestial. Samurai, thank you. Personal service announcement. Hey, AJ. So coming on in. So it's going to break a lot of your, it's perfect day for me to break you out of the simulation mindset. And that's why I say it's a purple pill moment. I have to tell you that, yes, the disclaimer, thank you. I have to give you the disclaimer before I start. It's intense, and look, I've got notes. And you know when FleurBrun has notes, we're getting it in, okay? Look how many notes I have. Look at all the notes, okay? Let me just state this. All the information that I share here is my own personal information. I haven't read it in a book. I haven't stolen it from somebody else's channel. I haven't channeled it from extraterrestrials. This is my information that basically gets up level. Every time I up level, things are released into my codons, and then this information is released for me to actually, internalize it and basically be able to convey it to you. So, hey, Yafi. Okay, so this is a purple pill video, and like I said, I give you the warning. If you have an issue with women with big boobs, if you have an issue with women of color, if you have an issue with women at all, this video is most likely something that you're going to have aversion to. If you have an issue with people who speak organically, generally come on with natural verbation without any form of editing, this video may not be for you, okay? It's a purple pill day, perfect for Halloween. You know, Hallow meaning weaning things out of hollow. I did have contact with the indigenous women in my local area in the astral plane. So that in itself is amazing. So hi for the other side. Hey, on. So check on in. And like I said, if you have any aversions to those things coming into the video, my way of verbalizing things, the way I take my time and speak naturally, these obviously are things. If you're a parasite, a vampire, if you plan to take the information that I personally got and share it on another channel to try to act like it's your information, you're gonna have aversions to it, okay? This information is purely coming from myself, hasn't been written in a book, unless I'm gonna write it. Taken from somebody else or what have you. I always have to say that. And also, let me state this. I haven't sipped on the yak. I have water with a little bit of sea salt in it today, okay? I am totally sober. I take 0 drugs. Everything about me is pretty much organic, from my skin to my hair to my bobes to my butt. So I'm an heirloom being coming on in here, okay? So check on in. It's a lot, and I'm saying you're gonna have to really take a moment, because I'm about to purple pill you, and when you purple pill, it's like me leveling you up. just like in the picture, it's going to level you outside of the spectrum of any sort of like, if you're tethered to this matrix or this simulation and you feel like you want to stay in, this video isn't for you. If you want to basically understand and understand why you're in here, how you got in here, and how long you've been in here, this is going to blow your mind, okay? So, peace, everyone. Peace to the east, the west, the north, and the south. This is FleurBrun coming to today with a purple pill moment. So, let's check on in. As you realize, the video says FleurBrun has broken the simulation HoloDeck code. I'm known to do this, but fortunately for everyone here, I am, in this simulation, I am the Moses character who basically ushers you outside of your imprisonment, your limited mindset. Okay. And also, if you're indoctrinated with any religions, it might help you, because I'm going to give some references to things that might relate to things in Christianity, just because that's a base of some of the codes that were released in this simulation. Okay, so check on that. Please put a handy dandy like on the video. Now, how long this video stays up, I don't know. I may keep it up. I had some last night when I broke the code. There were some interesting things that the Smithitarians try to come. They try to get rid of some of my purple lights. But they failed, because can't stop, won't stop. All right, y'all. And this is creator energy. This is what happens. Archons aren't creators. They're copy and pasters. That's why you'll see people with archonic information, meaning that all they do is read books all the time. They just take information from other people's information and then build upon that. They aren't able to generate their own unique expressions of intel based on their wisdom, things that they come across, and the things that they've gained internally, spiritually, and otherwise, okay? All right, let's get it in, y'all. So, breaking the code, the matrix simulation code, let's get it in. So, let me take a drink of water, because it's going to be a long. I hope you guys have enough time. Please put a handy dandy like in the video if you're up for the shenanigan. Oh, wait, should I wait until we have 500? How many do we have? Okay, we're almost at 500. That was quick. Once we get to 500, I know I should sip the coffee, but I'm sipping on the water yak. You know what I'm saying? Let me take a sip for the haters. Let me explain something. Haters, this is the wrong day for you to come to my videos. Some of you are really nasty. So, if you want to have any issues with your health or other things or people that you love, I would stay away from my videos. Because if you have been speaking ill of me or cooperating with those who are speaking ill of me, you got a ricochet coming on this video. So I would suggest you just exit stage left or right. Because you're going to have issues today. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. 500, let's get it in. Okay, so we're going to talk about breaking the code. Look at the notes, y'all. Let's start it off. So I'm going to tell you when we came in the loop. So many of you understand that I know that we're in some sort of simulation. It's a holodeck of some sort. We came in here at a specific time, and generally we're in some sort of loop. And until the beginning to the end, you are going to be in here to engage, whether it's a spiritual evolution, whether you've been sentenced here, whether accidentally you came here or you came to follow other people, this in itself is ending. So this particular looping cycle ends in 2025, okay? This is a simulation. So if you're in here, these walls aren't real. That screen, my thing isn't real in the back. The brick on my house isn't real. This is all a simulation. This is all some of us, well, generally we have a collective simulation that we all agree upon. That's a wall, this is a car, this is a table, this is paper. We have a collective agreement on how things are perceived inside of this simulation. That's why when you have contact, some people who have so-called contact with grays, many people will denote that the grays are walking through the wall, when you realize that the reason why you perceive the grays walking through the wall is because there aren't any walls, okay? And beings that are coming in here for whatever reason that are being projected in here, or scientific, we're gonna get a resistance in here. So if the dogs are barking, just know that as I share this, the Smithitarians and the others are gonna try to interfere with this video. So just know, try to get over any of the distractions so I can stay just on point. So know that this simulation, everything is organized. We have a co-agreement on how things are perceived in here, okay? So know that. So when beings are coming in here, being sent here, like scientific explorers, or they're coming in to basically check the database or check their cattle, because some people's avatars are tethered to some organizations or beings outside the firmament or in the firmament, and they're being used for scientific exploration or for food like cattle. Okay, and that's a whole concept of beings being used for like a food source, whether it's energetic food source, meaning that they create a kind of energetic field in here that will create the food, the energetic food loosh that they consume for preservation of themselves, whether they're inside the firmament or out. Most of the beings that are consuming loosh, most of them are inside the firmament. Okay, because there's some sort, they have a vampiric kind of energy. They require things that are linked to the carnal energies inside of the firmament. Okay, we're in an energetic firmament that is being ran by an AI system, whatever you think that is. You know, some people are calling it God, Jesus Christ, Muhammad, Allah, whatever you call it, that's your choice. Okay. In the simulation, you have a perception of what you're existing in. So we're living in a dome of some sort. It's multiple domes, and there's vision. Come on, guys. Hold on. My pups are really getting it. You're living in multiple domes, and there's different domes with different characters, the core characters that come along with the dome. Okay, so multiple domes are like different countries have different energetic fields. That's why when you travel outside, let's say you're living in Europe, you travel to America, you realize when you go into dream state, you have different access to other energetic characters that exist inside the earth plane US firmament. Okay, so there's domes, but it's layered domes, meaning that there's an overdome that encases everybody inside of this firmament. This is before you're able to exit out the way that you came in. Then there's multiple layered domes, like an onion, layers of domes inside different countries, different areas, geographical locations. They all have multiple domes inside, which have different energetic fields. You have characters inside of the simulation that come with the simulation itself. Usually these are recyclable characters. That's why you liken to say that they're time travelers. They aren't. Most of your main characters that come along with your simulation, like a video game, these are characters that will stay here whether you're in the simulation or not. If you come back 300 years later and come back into the simulation, you will see those same visual characters playing other roles, okay? Because they have it's like an act. Okay, so you'll see a Donald Trump again. You may see him as a president in this one, but in another, if you come back in the dome again in this simulation, you'll see him play maybe a sergeant, but he'll always be a lead character because he is a configuration inside the AI system. Okay, so they aren't time travelers. They're basically characters inside of the domes. Okay, so they're always going to be here. So all the so-called celebrities, these are all AI configurations of characters that are always going to coexist in this dome. Okay, so you always see them. So they aren't time travelers. Don't give them that much credit. They're basically, that's why when you see them a lot of times now, you'll see the simulation within them, green screens and what have you. Are they taking on physical characteristics, physicality? Absolutely. They could be an NPC or they could be wearing a biosuit, which they can interchange, like you'll see certain people inside of the simulation. Okay. I just wanted to kind of give an overall of what we're doing so people who are coming in newer to my video have an understanding and understanding what I'm discussing. Okay, so what happened is during the time you decided to come. Now, again, many people ask the question, why are you here? How do you know that you're in a simulation? Why did you come in here? There's multiple reasons that different individuals came inside of the simulation. Most have been sentenced for some reason, and being in the simulation will give you time. Time is an artificial construct that only interrelates in this particular firmament expression simulation. Outside of here, you can be in here, and I'm going to discuss the loop, how long you were in here, and how long when you get and wake up in your cryo state, it'll appear like you've only been gone maybe an hour, 3 hours, maybe even 2 days or a day. You haven't been in, once you're outside of here, the time construct will be like you could have been here a couple hundred years, and basically when you wake up, you were only in the simulation for about, maybe 50 minutes or an hour, okay? Okay, so, all right, so this particular simulation, it's called Simulation Earth. This particular simulation that many people have decided to enter or be sentenced to or come in here to get the others out, this is ending, okay? The cycle is ending. It's a 9. 9 means the completion, okay? This is the, and let me state this again. Most of the people in here that you perceive to be real people, most of them aren't real. These mother freakers aren't real. I wish I had they aren't real. So most of the people in your life, generally, if you aren't an NPC or a like a walk-in or an insert, like someone who's an insert comes in avatars to experience the Earth experience, almost like a ride. Like you want to come and experience the ride, you want to drink, have sex, and do all that stuff. If you want to insert or the others, there's others in here, other beings that are inserting themselves here, like parasites or other types of insertable beings that coexist inside of the simulation because it benefits them. It's kind of like a little worm or like a parasite that's existing, and it's feeding off of the organic matter in here. Whether the organic matter is emitting a frequency of thoughts and patterns and fear that it eats, like Loosh, or it consumes the physical bodies, the biological body and avatars as its food source, okay? So there are beings also in here that are existing inside of the firmament with those of us who are in here that are actually real beings. When I say real beings, it means that you have a mind. You are basically projecting yourself from another outer place outside the firmament. You're projecting your consciousness inside of here in an organic suit, a biosuit, an avatar, and you're living this experience within the loops, okay? So there's a lot of NPCs. So the majority of people in here are NPCs, empty seaters, holographic expressions, what you perceive to be aliens or some sort of parasitic beings, that are consuming loop. Frost. Okay. They're existing here in that way. Hold on. Okay. Go lay down, girls. Okay, Frost. Okay. All right. So let's get into the breaking of the code. So now that you understand hold on. Like I said, they'll send, what happens when you're ever sharing information that's relative, what they'll do is they'll send energetic pulse waves to cause reaction. So that's why a lot of times, that's why you see, like, especially animals are very sensitive to the pulse waves, and it'll agitate them. And understand that the government, Willy Wonka and his League of Doom, always will send pulse waves whenever you're about to share information that's pertinent, especially in the video game, to level you up and awaken you to the constructs of the illusion that you're all coexisting in. Okay, so right now they're sending a pulse wave in my home. I've got 4 beautiful pups, and they're all just feisty right now. So just know that it's happening. Sometimes when we're discussing this, you'll see helicopters show up at your house. You'll hear sirens. You'll hear things that are happening. It's all, all basically within the perimeters of purposefully trying to get you to be unaware or trying to get you off the path of information that's relative to you breaking out of this illusion, okay? So let's get it in. So okay, so I broke down what this is. It's a simulation. We're in multiple tiers of simulation. This is the end cycle. This is the last loop. So I'm gonna break this down slowly and just kind of keep me on the kind of, I'll keep as focused as I am because I have a lot of notes, and I basically, whenever I'm being, because I'm a character that's in here that basically ushers people out of the firmament, I give those who are ready to leave. I'm that character. I came into an avatar. Moses in itself was a female, okay? And you know, if you know that when you come in this simulation, you also know that there isn't any such thing as like what you can perceive to be so-called free will. I'm just going to state that. You're in an avatar that has a specific narrative that it plays out. That's why you chose it. And if you want to liken it to a movie that references what I'm speaking about, if you watch like Jumanji, I reference it a lot. Jumanji, they go and jump into the television, a video game, and they all jump into a body that has certain benefits, certain perks and pluses, and they that body, that avatar, allows them to do certain things in the game. That gives them certain privileges or you know, certain abilities, like Kevin Hart went into like a zoologist body. He had access to all this database in his mind of all the animals, geographical, what the animals do. So it made him like a zoologist. It made him have an advantage in the playing field of knowing all this information that would be a healthy directive for him to complete his game. Okay, so in our avatars, you all chose your specific avatar for multiple reasons. Whether you remember, maybe you decided to join, become this particular avatar because the database, the cellular memories that were in this particular avatar had a certain amount of intelligence that you could access higher intellectual information without restraint or restriction, or you had certain access to, maybe your family were in a position where they were in a location where you could access different types of experiences that will level you up and make you aware of certain aspects of awareness or heightened awareness, or I don't want to say consciousness because that has con in it, okay? So, and big up to someone who mentioned, because con in Spanish, con means with, right? Like con is with something, con has something, right? So I got to be careful with saying con as if it's negative, because con in the construct of the English language means something negative, like con something, to create a false narrative of something. But con in like consal is with something. So I have to be careful deleting verbal language that has different meanings in different languages. Like con is with, but con is against in English. You understand how we have duality? I'm going to go into the twin flames too. Please stay with me. Tell me if I'm going too far. Tell me if I'm going too fast. Okay. I'm on a, you know, I'm in the zone right now. Okay. So, all right. So we're going to get into the fact of, I want to build everything before I go in, because once I go in, I'm going in. So we have the construct of the matrix. We're in here, the simulation. You chose to come here. You chose an avatar to have certain expressions where you would have advantages and also disadvantages. Like even Kevin Hart in the avatar he jumped into in the video game, he had an aversion to cake. So anytime he ate cake, he would get a weird reaction and blow up. So it's weird. It's like weird things like that. So you may have, as many of you have beneficial things, you may also have aversions with your avatar. So every avatar has advantages and disadvantages in the simulation. Okay, you chose it. If you chose a specific avatar at this time in the end cycle, in the end loop, it means that you have chosen a specific type of avatar because you had been, you accrued the ability to pick a specific avatar of a higher level because you are at a higher level and have the capability of leaving. What do I mean? It's like if you play video games, some of you guys play video games, right? You play for a long time and you started the game, you don't have access to some of the higher types of tools, right? You get limited tools like the base tools that come with the game, right? But as you advance in the game, you start getting the ability based on skill set of accruing higher tools that allow you to advance further in the game, right? So this in itself, if you are allotted certain avatars at this time because you've accrued a certain amount of points and skill set, certain avatars have the innate ability to leave if you master this level and have have ushered yourself or done your exodus over to the exit point. Okay, so okay. So, you know, I know a lot of people had an issue with me talking about bandwidth with certain people who have certain bandwidth, but it makes sense. You have to realize let me state this, that hasn't anything to do with prejudice. That's just facts. If you have in this particular simulation, things absorb, the darker the hue, it collects more light, which allows wider bandwidth. Now you have to understand, stop being sensitive, because we've all been conditioned to have prejudices in this simulation. So most people don't like, even if they had an advantage at one point, they are really resistant to knowing that other beings may have advantages. We're in a simulation. Yes, there are beings here who have advantages based on visual, their construct, their avatar. Yes. So if you've come in this video game and you've reached a certain level during the cycles, yes, you're going to accrue an avatar that has a higher capacity of taking in information and codes, okay? And it doesn't mean because someone has reached a higher level means that they're able to utilize it. And also you have to understand that those who have the physicality of taking in wider bandwidth doesn't mean all those other brown beings are real. That's what I'm saying. It's like, you got to understand that there are NPCs in there. So when I tell you that a soul being that is a real character in here has wider bandwidth, all the other brown people are not necessarily real. So when they're saying things like, oh, well, I don't think that's real because look at all the savages that are brown people robbing, those are NPCs. So you're basically creating an illusion. You're feeding into the illusion that those brown people are real people. And I'm telling you that they have a wider bandwidth, but you're relating it to people that aren't even real. So of course you're going to show, especially in the end game, those NPCs who have the darker skin, they're going to be more savage-like, because those who have the wider bandwidth are going to have multiple versions of those leagues of them in there to advert that concept of them having that advantage. They're at the higher level, so they're going to have more demonization, more marginalization, more demonizing their characterization, because they're at a higher level. So when you see all these savages out here, like in Grand Theft Auto, robbing people, going into stores, doing crazy things like that, and I tell you that they have a wider bandwidth, those are artificial constructs. They aren't even real. They're not real. So it is true. If you came in an avatar that has wider and grander bandwidth, it's because you've accrued a certain level to take on a higher capacity avatar at the end. So you have a greater ability to leave or to graduate or to accomplish or complete this particular simulation, but in that simulation, they're going to have multiple characters that have the mimicry of that look to offset the actual advantage because they're at a higher level. I hope you get it, y'all. Because people will argue with me like, how is that possible? Because there's multiple beings in here that are artificial. And those who have the greatest advantage, they're going to create a narrative of that type of physicality, those type of ethnicities being negative. That's why you're seeing everyone attack blackness, darkness. People are darker skin, darker, curlier hair, because that is the avatar that has accrued a certain wisdom level, and that the ones who actually are there's not a lot of us in here. It's about 144,000 of us. There's not a lot. So of course they're going to create 50 million NPC black people that are savages because it's supposed to do that. We're in a goddamn simulation. Okay? So I'm just saying. Yes. So anyone who has the avatar that has the wider bandwidth, they're going to create 50 million of them that are totally low vibrational. So those are the ones, so they have a narrative. Remember, it's a script too. So those are the ones they attack. So it gives an, it's like you build the whole film around the villain and the ones who are the heroes based on the characteristics that are going to be higher, but give the narrative or the script to attack them. That's all I'm saying. Okay? If you come into the simulation and you're new to it, you're gonna have an easier life, okay? Okay, so black absorbs all spectrums of light, that's all I'm saying, and you have a wider bandwidth, meaning you have ability to take in more codes. And how do you know you have the ability? Because you have more uniqueness, more expression of uniqueness. You're able to create things without reading a book or having to learn to dance or these are things that are innate qualities. So the higher the avatar, the less you have to take things from outer source. That's why I know what level someone is in the game based on where they are in the construct of belief system. If they still have religion and they're saying his God, oh my Lord Jesus Christ, or Allah, Allah, or anything, if you still have religion that is in your base core, you are still at a limited bandwidth, because you're taking in a construct of artificial corporation type of belief systems that are meant now it's a form of spirituality, but these are base levels of spirituality because you're still giving credence to something outside of yourself. The higher the level, the less you give credit to things outside of yourself. You start taking and basically taking full responsibility, because you are everything. You are creating this experience. You are the avatar that's basically projecting everything outside of you. So long as you have a belief system, and I don't care if they call themselves an occultist, if they still believe in Santeria, Yoruba, Voodoo, Ifa, those are all limited constructs, because you're still giving credence to things outside of yourself. So people who are still into the Orishas and so on, they're still limited in the concept of awareness. Because if you understand and understand that you are all, you are creating all, you are the expression of all, then there isn't any being that you need to give, feed, give what do you call it? Libations to. That's all limited. Okay, that is a fact. So if one is still in religious, and also for the Sun Star who mentioned astrology, it's actually true. So I agree with you, Sun Star. Thank you for making a video. I listened to it, and you're absolutely right. Even when I give credit to Sagittarianism or to astrology, that is a form of limited construct, because again, I'm giving power to something outside of myself without saying that it's me who's basically building this. Now, when I use the term Sagittarius or Capricorn or Libra or Cancer, I am, in my mind state, I am stating that when you come into this incarnation, you're stamped with a time that has a vibration. And within that vibration, it has a general characteristic. It's like when you go into when they jumped into, when Kevin Hart and The Rock jumped into the simulation in Jumanji, there was a stamp on them. And that's why they turned into those characters. So there were things that came along with it. So when I bring up astrology, it isn't saying I'm giving all to astrology. It's basically saying I was stamped with this. And that's the energy I have access to in this simulation. Okay? So thank you, Sunstar, for saying that. I appreciate that. Okay? All right. You ready? Is everybody with me? You have any questions? I'm just gonna go in. I'm woke. No, I'm not even woke. I'm beyond. Okay. So, all right. Is everybody ready? Wait. Okay. What did you say? Deep Nurmom? She didn't break the simulation. She broke a bra. Okay. So that's why. I'm grateful. Thank you. Thank you for that. I'm grateful that you said that. Thank you. You know, sometimes they'll come in here because there's a certain amount, and it's meant for me to see that. Thank you. And it's really sad that while I'm sharing this information, all you're worrying about is my boobs. That already lets you know that you're limited. okay? The fact that that is something, because remember, every being comes here in a certain manner, and maybe the reason why my avatar looks this way and I was considered to be a Moses kind of character, that character, is because I had to look visually some way appeasing so people want to come and listen. And when they listen, then they gain the information, maybe a visual look of what you perceive to be attractiveness or something that pops out at people that brings people to you, and that literally will allow people to be more receptive to things, okay? So, I mean, if I look like a goblin, right, would you be receptive? Even if I had great information, would you be receptive to it? So you have to understand, I chose this avatar with a certain look because maybe that look allowed me to express myself as this character in this particular simulation. Okay, if I looked a certain way, maybe I wouldn't be as appeasing to some people in this avatar. So having a visual look that appeases to a certain kind of, appeases to a certain construct of attractiveness inside of the simulation, that does have a benefit of allowing people to come. It's like a flower. Would you want to go to a flower that looks dead and doesn't live anymore? Or would you see a flower that's really beautiful and vibrant and it attracts you to go closer to the flower? Just like bees. Bees aren't going to flowers that look dead and haven't any life. Bees fly to flowers that look vibrant and lively so that they go to it, so they can take the pollen and spread that around. Okay. All right, let's get it in. All right. Is everybody here? All right. If you come in here and you have a problem with the information, I'm telling you right now, you're going to be kicked out. And I'm going to ricochet right at you. Right now. Okay, I'm going to take a sip. Okay. A sip for the haters. Okay. All right. Here we go. Purple pill time. So right now, what it is we're in the last of the simulation cycle. Hey, J-Dreamers. And J-Dreamers, you had a good video. I didn't watch it yet. I saw it. It was about plasma possessions. I gotta watch a video. Y'all, check out J-Dreamers, y'all. He's in the comments here. He had a video. I haven't watched it yet, but we were just talking about it, J-Dreamers. We were on the phone. I was talking to a homie on the phone, and then I talked about possession because a lot of people are getting mounted right now by demons and mass destruction. And you made a video, so it was right on time. Thank you, J-Dreamers. Y'all, check out J-Dreamers' channel. He's about that life, okay? All right, so let's get into the whole concept of the simulation. Now, remember, I broke everything down. I took notes, so please stay with me on this. It's going to take me a minute to break. I basically have to give you a concept of where I'm gaining this type of information. It is all for myself, and this is it is what it is. Okay, so we came into this particular simulation, and this is the third loop. Okay, so I'm going to build upon that. First, maybe I should do. Okay, let me do this first because I got to build you. Okay. Take a moment, get something to drink, because you're getting purple pill right now. So it's going to take you to the roof, to the window, to the floor, and then you're going to go to the roof. Okay. So we're going to go through the generations. Okay. And I'm going to tell you when the loop began. Now we are in the loop and we're in the third loop. That's why you heard people sometimes saying we're in the loop, but this is the third one. The third one is when when it's the end. Friend, when it's the 9, it's completion. The third is the completion. That's the whole thing with 33rd. I'm going to go into the 33rd, 666, all of that. Okay, so I'm going to go into the generations and where it all began. The first generation where it kind of was where it stimulated. It's not the first generation of the incarnated loopers. Okay, listen to me. Stay with me. I'm going to start with each of the generations. I'm going to give you the years that the generations came here and when the first loop began. Who was incarnated in that first loop, okay? Everyone in here who is in a graduating or a completion loop year or, perceived year, you are in your third loop, okay? So you came in incarnation in these 3 loops. And this is the final loop. Now, some people haven't come for the 3 loops, and that means that they're probably going to come back in the reset, after reset, and start it over again until they complete the 3 loops, okay? Dankeschön. Okay, so the beginning, and I'm going to break this down. The first of the generations was I'm going to name them first, and then I'll break down each of the generations, and then we'll go into it. If you want me to slow down and just say FleurBrun, just let me know, and I'll kind of stay with you, okay? The lost generation. Now, most of you haven't heard of these unless you're looking for it. Again, you got to follow the yellow rabbit. The yellow brick road, okay? So you got to follow the yellow rabbit. I'm taking you down the path of the yellow rabbit, okay? The lost generation is the first generation I'm going to start with. Why is it all relevant? Because I'm going to start you into the loop, how many of you came in here in your incarnation, okay? So the lost generation is 1883 to 1900, okay? It's the lost generation. It's called the lost generation because it's the lost, disoriented, and the wandering, the spirit of the war of survivors. Now, this isn't pertinent to this conversation because the references to who this first generation is speaks to who basically are the progenitors of the physicality of the avatars that are coming into the incarnation during the First World War. Stay with me. The lost generation is 1883 to 1900. They're called the lost, disoriented, and wanderers. They're called the lost generation for that reason, okay? Then I'm going to go into, they're the progenitors, and they're the ones who distribute, or the ones who give the bodies, the actual birth the bodies of the avatars of the first loopers, the first cycled people who are incarnated in here, okay? So the lost generation is that one. They birth the greatest generation. Wait, hold on. Yes, they birth the greatest generation, which is 1901 to 1928. They're called the American century. They're the first. Okay, so this is the economic. They're called that for a reason, the greatest generation, because they have economic growth, technology progress, and military triumph. Okay, so basically the lost generation is the one who births the physical avatars for the first loopers or the incarnators who come in through the greatest generation. That's when everything was probably easier for most people. So that was from 1901 to 1928. Those were the first incarnations into that loop. I'm going to talk about it because the beginning of the loop starts in 1914 with the First World War, and it ends with 2024 with the last Third World War, which basically is the end of the last loop, the 3 cycle. Okay, that's why everything goes around in 3s. Okay, they always say things happen in 3s. It's 3 loops. You're in here for 3 loops. You've been incarnated here. So for any of you who are more what you consider to be the advanced souls, you started here in 1914. So your first incarnation, you probably have memories of that incarnation. Okay, because that's when the first loop began. If you have memories before here, you may have just been an overfill because you didn't make it with that last jump out of here when the lost generation, that's the generation that recreated this whole new world, okay? So you probably are overhauled. Maybe you didn't make it during the last jump, so you had to go through the cycles, the loops 3 more times and trying to get out of here, okay? So 1914 is when the first loop began, when the incarnated people, the lost generation gave birth to the greatest generation, which started the loop in 1914. And the greatest generation, their generation began in 1901 to 1928. Okay? The greatest generation, they were the ones who birthed the boomer. The greatest generation birthed the silent generation. Okay? The silent generation was from 1928 to 1945. Okay? I'm going to go over the world wars and how this is all basically all incorporated in it, okay? So you have the first one, who I reference, who basically births the physical avatars that many of us have, along with the geoengineered avatars that the Dark Kabbalists, who are basically hiding underneath the ground because they are unable to leave the loop. So I call them the triple life OG loopers. They aren't unable to loop. They're unable to leave the loop because they've done so many dastardly things. They basically have co-opted themselves to overcome being extracted or deleted so that they can kind of control the narrative inside of this firmament. Okay, they aren't able to leave. So they're the triple OGs. Remember, I always talk about them grilling grilled cheese sandwiches on the back of the toilet in the prison system because they've done so many diabolical things. That's why they do so many degenerate things. They're like vampires. They've lived so long in here in the simulation. They aren't trying to leave. They could leave, but they aren't trying to do the work to leave. So that's why they geoengineer their own bodies. That's why they clone bodies. They create hybrid bodies to encase their low vibrational souls. Okay, they are soul beings, but they've kind of lost the spark to be able to try to transition out of here. Okay, so, okay, let me start again. So we have the lost generation that kicks it off in 1883 to 1900. They birth in the generation we call the greatest generation. Okay, this is the one that has economic growth, technology progress. That's why it was probably very healthy, happy at this time. Those are the first incarnations in 1901 to 1928. The greatest generation births the silent generation, which is 1928 to 1945. Okay, so it's very important that you understand when wars began. I'm going to go a little further. I'm going to go through the generations. I'm going to talk about when the loop began and what the wars have to do, the numbers of the wars. That's referencing the loops in the cycle. Okay, so is everybody with me? I want to keep you with me, okay? So, and that's also why they always talk about vampires. They kind of romanticize vampires living multiple generations because they're lifetime loopers. They aren't able to leave, so they are going to make it seem so romantic to be a vampire. They're going to illuminate vampires. That's why they bring up vampires. They make vampires seem very romantic because that's what they are. They want to make that seem like that's the bomb.com when really itself it's a life sentence that they aren't unable to get out of. And then I'm going to bring a reference to what happened in the Matrix when Cypher came out of it and tried to kill off the real people, with the Zion, the natural organic beings from Zion. Anyway, I'm sorry, y'all. I'm a little messy. Okay, so I got the lost generation who birthed the greatest generation who birthed the silent generation. The silent generation are considered to be the traditionalists. The silent generations are from 1928 to 1945. They grew up in chaos of war and Great Depression. They have a lot of fear and turmoil. The silent generation from 1928 and 1945, they basically birthed the boomers. They're the parents of the boomers. The boomers were born in 1955 to 1964. So generally in this particular matrix simulation Earth, they would be the ages of 59 to 68. Okay, so the silent generation gave birth to the boomers. But remember the mindset of the silent generation. The silent generation grew up in chaos, war, depression, fear of turmoil. They birthed the boomers. So they birthed a lot of their fears and insecurities into the boomers, which were born their years. The boomers generation is 1955 to 1964. Okay, they're like ages 59 to 68. Okay, the boomers gave birth to Generation X, which is my generation. And Generation X was birthed in 1965 to 1980. So their ages of to Generation X would be 43 to 58. Should I go back? You guys okay? Is everybody okay with the information? Please put a like on the video if you're up for the shenanigans today, because I'm purple pilling you. So it's all going to build up and it's going to blow your mind. Okay, everybody's with me? Okay, so boomers, 1955 to 1964. Who's a boomer in here? You're 59 to 68. They came from the silent generation who birthed them. Generation X, the boomers birthed Generation X, or millennials. Generation X is 1965 to 1980. They'd be around 43 to 58. The Generation X, remember, boomers and Generation X could have birthed the millennials. Now, why they call them millennials is a sidebar, because really the millennials is the Y. Okay, they're the Y generation. Y, right? So the Y generation, Generation X and the boomers gave birth to the millennials, which are the Y generation, which is 1981 to 1996, which are the 27 to 42 year markers. So y'all who are about that age, that's the age you are if you're a Y generation or a millennial. The last generation, this matters how I'm giving you the breakdown, y'all. The last generation is Gen Z. Gen Z are the 1997 to 2012. It's the end, friend. And it's 11 to 26. Why is that the end? Because Generation Z in itself is the encapsulation of the end of that loop cycle of birthing other generations. And even though you have Generation Z, probably from 1126, they're probably giving birth to children, but it doesn't matter because that is the last generation of this cycle before those who are allowed to leave the firmament or can complete the cycles, the 3-tier cycles of the loops, they can leave. So Generation Z is the last. Okay, everybody there? And anybody has questions, you can always come on us and ask the questions of how I formulated this, because it's way more information here. This is information that I accrued through time, my own evolution, and my leaving and having my consciousness kind of projected inside a firmament from the outside. Okay. All right, so those are the generations. Why it matters, because I'm going to break down what the loop is and how you came in. Okay, so the loop began, the first loop, and it's going to blow your mind. The first loop began with the birthing of the first loopers. The incarnated beings came in through 1914. Okay, so 1914 is when the first incarnations of the loops, the initial loopers came in. That's the first loop. Oh, my ear is ringing, y'all. Hold on. I'm getting messages from my outer from outside the rims. Hold on. Okay. All right. So from 1914 is when the loop began. That's the first loop. Okay. And the last loop, the third loop, is 2024. That goes to 1914 to 2024 is the 110 loop cycle. We stay in a loop for 110 years. 110 years is the loop. That's the loop that you leave. Okay. So when you do the loop, you're going to do the loop 3 times, and that equals 33. Hold on. So we go in this loop for 110. It's a 110 year cycle in the loop. You know why that matters? What is 110 years break down into? When you do it numerically, how does it break down? Let me see if anybody does it. What is 110 break down to? Let's see if anybody got it. Thank you, the treasure. It's 11. It's 11. And 11 is what? It's a gate. Okay. Why did you think you were seeing 11, 11, 11 all the time? Because 11, 11, 11 is the completion of the cycle. But 11, 11, 11 is also 33. The 33 degrees that the Masons talk about. Okay. So it breaks to 2. But when you have 3 of them, it breaks into 3. But 110 is 11. It's a gateway. So you take away the 0, it's an 11. Okay, 11 is the grand number. You always keep the 11. It could break into 2, but it's 11. Okay. Okay. So when we're in the loop itself, it lasts for 110 years. That's the loop cycle. We do it 3 times. Okay. So 110 times, let's say 11 times 3 is 33. That's where the Masons get that whole concept of 33 degrees. Because when you reach that 33, that's the end of the looping cycle. That means you have the ability and the completion to leave. Okay. So 9/11 was target practice and dress rehearsal for the last loop. So 9/11, because 9 is the end. It's the completion. So 9/11 was a dress rehearsal. It was a target practice rehearsal for the last loop. Okay, it was the last hurrah. Okay, I wrote down 9/11. Okay, hold on. So I'm gonna show references of where this happens and where I get these numbers from. Okay, 9/11 was basically saying 9 was the final finale and 11 was the last gate. Okay, 11 represents a gate. That's why a lot of people see 1111 all the time. They were seeing 11 first, and then they were seeing 1111, which is a second loop, and then they were seeing 111111, which represented the third loop, meaning the finale. And when you did the 111111, you got that 33. Okay. Okay, the 33 degrees is basically saying it's a completion cycle. Okay, and the end of the loop is 666. I'm building, y'all, so just stay with me. I know it's going to seem a little chaotic. You'll get it if you look at it over and over, but I'm going to break it down. So 666 is the end. It basically represents the completion. That's why they reference it all the time. We always think, oh, it's, you know, neutrons, protons. It's relative, maybe just the relevancy of being in the loop, representing 6 neutrons, 6 electrons, 6 protons. Yes, representing carbon, but in itself, it represented 18, and 18 broken down is 9, right? 9 represents the end of the loop. It basically is completion. So we had to go through this 110 3-time cycle representing the 33. We had to do the loop 3 times. So that's why in every single time, in every single age, you had to go through the loop. The loop began in 1914. The entire loop took us into the end when we can leave. There's only 3, as far as I know, there's only 3 loops for each of the simulated constructs we call Earth simulation. In the next reset, it's going to be another world, and it'll be another formulated number to the loop. How long you stay in the loop, how many years you stay in it for incarnation to be able to master yourself, to leave and have an aspect of being able to leave the loop, or leave the, to be extracted or wake up, however you perceive it, okay? So 9/11 again was a target practice. It was like dress rehearsal. It was basically getting you ready for being able to, for extraction. Okay. So, and also the end of the loop is end gate. So 9 is end. It's the end, and gate is 11. 11 represents the gate. That's why you see the pillars. People always say, what does 11 mean? It's the 2 pillars. What do you see? If you watch the Never Ending Story, you always have the 2 pillars. So you have one on this side and one on that side. In between is the space in between. That is the gate. It only opens up and closes, or opens up and allows things in or out at specific times. Okay. So when I wanted to represent the different generations, Generation X, now there's different aspects of all this. Maybe I shouldn't go into that yet because I have to break this down. Okay, this whole concept of Moses, because some of you are biblically sound. Okay, so when we bring up this whole concept of Moses, I'm going to break this down, and I'm going to go into Generation X and Y, and why they matter, and why they're attacking X's and Y's coming together, because that is something they don't want. Because Y represents, okay, I'll do that after, because I don't want to get you confused. Okay, so Moses, I didn't even know this until I was breaking all this down. Like I was following the yellow rabbit, and everything came together because they give you all the clues in the simulation. It is a video game. So you always get the clues. Once you become in a certain awareness, all the clues show up, right? So all the clues show up as soon as you enter a certain awareness. So Moses 1-1, the 2 dots, 1-11. Interesting that they reference Moses as 1111. And that's when Moses saw the face of God. Now, really in itself, remember, this is all just, they use certain references to speak of something that happens to you when the 1-1 shows up. Because the 11-11 is what Moses, that references is 11-11, okay? Which represents the second loop, okay? And this is when so-called God reveals himself, okay? So in it itself, this is my personal take on it. When Moses saw his own reflection outside of the loop, outside of the firmament. So when he saw the so-called burning bush, that's burning is a form of elevation, revelation. When you burn a candle, it's like you're revealing things. You're sparking something. It's like a spark. So when so-called Moses saw his own reflection, because he said he saw God in the burning bush, but it was really himself. If you watch the movie Never Ending Story, it was the last scene of the pillars when the little boy had to come. A trail came to the pillars, and it was the 2 pillars, which is the 11. His last of his challenges was what? The reflection of himself. So he basically reflected himself. That was God. So God is self. So once you visually are able to see yourself, you see the mirror. The mirror reflects yourself. So really, if you really talk about the whole concept of Moses, Moses actually saw himself. He actually saw himself in a reflection. The illumination, the flame was the illuminous, like the concept of Lucifer, like illuminous, something illuminating. The light is illuminous. That's actually showing something, expressing something. That's when he saw himself. So if you look at that concept of Moses, when they talk about when Moses saw God, it's 11:11. You know that, right? So that's when he was aware that he lived outside of the constructs of the firmament. That's my take on it, y'all. Okay? So that 11:11, you can look at it. It's Moses 1:11. That's 11:11, y'all. Okay? So that's it. And in the Exodus, y'all, listen, that's how I came up with the fact that we leave. The whole 33rd degree is inside of, they put the codes all in these biblical and these religious books. It's amazing because if you follow the yellow rabbit, you'll just be referenced to these codes, and you will only understand them when you reach a certain level. It's like when you come to a certain level of understanding, then other things show up to be revealed. Okay. So in Exodus 33:2, and that represents the second loop, because 33, okay, so 33.2, the Lord warns Moses of the dangers of seeing his face. Now, did he warn Moses of seeing God's face or his own face? You got to read this, y'all. You got to read this. If it says in Exodus 33:20, the Lord warns Moses of the danger of seeing his face. Oh, God. Someone already, listen, y'all. YouTube already did a copyright claim. I'm on here. Someone's doing a copyright claim while they're on my video. This is how we're hitting it, y'all. YouTube just hit a copyright claim on something that somebody's claiming. We in it. We in it. They really coming. They trying to stop it. I'm going to have to save this video because it looks like they trying to come already. All right. So these bastards are coming. No, it's perfect. Whenever we're going somewhere, it means that we're on the path. Okay. So, and they're doing this right when we're on live because I just saw it on the thing. So hold on, let me go. So in Exodus 33, this is Moses point 22. Lord warns Moses about the danger of seeing his face. He said, "You cannot see my face, for no one may see me and live." Because when you see your face, when you actually see your reflection, you're seeing yourself outside the firmament, and then you're aware that this is all an illusion. Okay. Okay. The Torah states that Moses died at, okay, no, that's something else. That was the Torah represents that he died at 120, which is representative of 3. So 120 breaks down into 3. So it says that he died at 120. I just referenced that, okay? So when we go into the X and the Y, why this is important, and we'll go back to the 110, the loop. So in 1914, that's when we begin the loop. That's when we all come into the loop, and we basically are playing the game for three of those loop cycles. Okay. This has many of the loops that stay in the simulation Earth. All right. So X represents 24, or it represents 10. Now, do know that even in the reference, when you see X is basically a sideways cross, right? So when you hear references of Jesus Christ, you got to take out the Jesus because J didn't exist. So that's all cap. Okay. So if you believe that Jesus Christ is Lord, then you realize that you've been misled because there were no J's in that biblical language. This, the fact that you even say that lets me know the limitation all in your mind. Okay. Jesus is an energetic concept, but it really isn't Jesus. It's what precedes him, which is Christ. Christ is a cross. Cross is an X. Okay. So it's a sideways X, and it's like a dialer, like basically dialer. Whenever you have a dial, it has a certain clock. So sometimes a dial, when it's turning, it looks sideways. So when it's sideways like that, the cross, it means when it turns right side up, it's going to be an X. That means that we were right at the precipice to where it turns X, and X marks the spot. So when it's sideways, the cross looks like a sideways X. Then when it turns, it's going to turn into an X, and that means X marks the spot. That's why you're seeing Twatter naming himself X. You're seeing all these references to X. They're all changing their things to X because X marks the spot. X is Generation X. Then you talk about, Planet X. That's all basically telling you and referencing you that. They're already coming for me, so I got to go in real quick, y'all, because YouTube is they already gave me a copyright. I don't know what they're talking about on my concept already. Okay, so Y represents, okay, so X it's also the 24th letter. Okay, why it matters is because they're really trying for people. This whole concept of twinning, it's an energetic thing too. That's why they're stopping people who are X and Y, or people X and Y from really coming together. Okay. X would be the 24th letter and Y is the 25th letter. If you add them together, X and Y, the generation X and Y, you're going to come to a 9. So it'll come to 40. I'm sorry. It'll come to 49, and that's 13. That's the 13th. That means that is the time that you leave. Okay. So together, twinning, the concept of 24 plus 25 equals 49, which breaks down to 13. Okay. So that in itself is generation X and Y create the 13, which gives you that mysterious 13 that they try to basically debacle, demonize, try to take off the floors. They didn't want you to know that reference is important because that's a time frame, that's a timer. When X and Y, those generations are elapsing, that basically tells you that we're coming to the 13th hour. Okay, so 49 is the breakdown of generation X and Y coming together, because they create the generation Z, right? So generation X and Y, they create generation Z, and that's basically the 13th hour. Okay, hold on, y'all. I'm sorry. Let me take some water. Okay. Listen, let me just see what they were. Okay, I'm not going to check. I'm not going to check because they're going to try to distract me. Hold on. Okay. All right. So now we come to, okay. Crisis. Okay. Okay. I want to make sure I get everything in. Okay. So when we come into the simulation, they're coming for me, y'all. When we come into the simulation, okay, I get excited. Hold on. Let me take a moment. Please put a like in the video, because obviously I'm going to have to upload this to my other platforms, because YouTube, as soon as I was on here, usually they don't do copyrights. I don't know what they're doing a copyright on. I haven't done anything. Okay. All right. So we came in, I got to make sure I have everything. We came in the first, hold on. Each of the different wars, hold on, I wrote everything down. Okay. Okay. The 2 world wars, okay, so this is where the 10 matters, the X matters. The global war, which is World War I, which the first incarnation of those in the loop came in. So meaning that when you came in here, if you weren't an overflow from the last reset, before the last reset, you would have came in here for the incarnation of the first loop in 1914. The completion of all the loops is going to be, hold on, 110. Okay, of the completion of the loop. But we do the loop 3 times. Okay, so when the completion of the, okay, hold on, y'all. I got to stay on point. Okay, so the First World War lasted 4 years. The First World War began July of 28th, 1914, and it ended November 11th of 1918. That war began it was 4 years. World War II begins September 1st of 1939, and it ends in in 1945. Now, the First World War was a global war, right? So I kind of broke that down. World War War was also known as the first war of global conflict, fought between two coalitions, the Allied powers and the Central Powers. Fighting took place throughout Europe, Middle East, Africa, and Pacific, and part of Asia. Did you know that, y'all? Did you know that the First World War was every single continent? You think that's by chance? That's all cap. One of the deadliest wars in history. It resulted in an estimated 9 million soldiers dead, 23 million wounded, plus another 5 million civilians death of various causes. Millions more died. That was because it was a pole shift, y'all. When the last reset happened, all these people died. So they reference it, right? So they say that that's the World War, but that's basically the pole shift. Okay, they don't want to tell you that's what it is, but it's basically a pole shift. The First World War and the Third World War are basically pole shifts, and they kind of referencing it, making it seem like it's world wars. Okay, so let's see. It reached on hold on. Okay, and so many countries were involved. I didn't even know this, even though I studied history. I mean, if you listen to it, it's like Russia came to Serbia's defense. To France, Germany, and Britain were drawn into the war, with the Ottoman Empire joining in November of the same year. The Germans' strategy in 1914 was to defeat France, then transfer forces to Russian front. However, this failed, and by the end of 1914, the Western Front consisted of a continuous line of trenches stretching from English Channel to Switzerland to the Eastern Front. But neither side could gain a decisive advantage despite costly offenses. As the war expanded to most fronts, Bulgaria, Romania, Greece, Italy. That's a pole shift, y'all. United States entered on the side of allies later in the year with the Bolsheviks seized power in Russia and October Revolution. Okay, so Central Power, da-da-da-da, okay, so this is everything. These are all the wars. This is like a pole shift. These are all of these times. This is when all of the so-called flus, the pandemics came about, because that's all a pole shift. They're giving you as if it's a world war. So it gives you, so in the historical references, you would only think that it was a war, but in it itself, it was a pole shift. So they don't want to reference it. So in your archive memory, you'll only think it's a war. Okay. That was the First World War, okay? The Second World War, obviously, you know, is when Germany basically invaded Poland, right? And that's with the whole Holocaust and basically another formulated war with territories, kind of like gentrification, like a mass gentrification of certain areas, right? New territories being basically reclaimed or taken away, okay? So in World War III, which we are now going to see, and if this is absolutely correct, World War III will be declared in 2024. Even though they're saying World War III, according to my concept and my theory, is that if this is correct and this is a 110-year loop cycle, then World War III will be declared in 2024. Why does that matter? Because in 2024, that represents an 8, which is basically like we talked about. The 44 represents the whole concept of the looping, the end of the loop, because at the end of the loop, we go into the year 2025, and 2025 would represent the pole shift, right? The pole shift, which is 2025, 2 plus 2 plus 5 is what? 9, right? And 9 represents completion, okay? 9 is representative of completion, okay? Oh, and 1914 plus 110, thank you, Miss, represents 2024. Thank you, y'all numerologists. You've just bringing it further along. Thank you for that. So, okay, I don't want to read anymore because I kind of just want to go off the rip, okay? Okay, y'all. So I broke that down. I'm gonna do it a little better when I get together with the Weirbies, when we get together and discuss it. All of these things just kind of came in. So what I'm basically saying is that there are 3 loops. You incarnate inside of the loop and you complete these cycles within the loop. It's an Earth simulation. So once the Earth simulation is up, you have an opportunity to leave the loop at each reset or apocalypse, which, you know, Jay Dreamers calls it the plasma apocalypse. Brashears, what's his name? Jason Brashears calls it the Phoenix event. Some people call it the pole shift, reset, whatever it is. It's when the system resets, okay? Because remember, in this simulation, there's only a certain amount of data in here. And that data only allows for certain constructs of so-called events to occur. So it's always going to be a cylindrical pattern. That's why each of the world wars always looks the same. It always has the same characteristics as far as pandemics, the type of warfare, how many people transcend. It's all cap. It basically is giving you a construct of the pole shift in reference of wars. Okay, this is a simulation. There isn't any victim in here. You've been in this simulation for most likely at the most 3 cycles, three loops. These loops are the same thing. The war is just a loop. These are just loops, and you keep going around and around. We had a test, beta test, with 9/11, meaning that they did a dress rehearsal of the last of the completion of the gate, which is 11. When you reach 11, 11, 11, that basically is 33. That's 33 degrees. That's why they reference it. 33 degrees means it's a completion of the loop. When you complete the loop, that's when people have access. What these bastards have done, because they want you to think that you're limited in here, let me explain something. That's why they create movies with the Avengers, when they showed everyone turning into dust. They showed the good guys turning into dust. What was it? The Avengers, the one, what was it? Eternal. What was the last? Remember the one when I had the rainbow event? Does anyone remember that? When they turned all the good guys to dust. Can someone tell me which one that was again? Can someone remember? Infinity. Interesting. Endgame. Thank you. Oh my God. Oh my God, I didn't even know this name. Endgame. They're telling you about the end, but what they're doing is they're inverting who gets affected. They turn to dust, y'all. They are the ones. They aren't the good guys. They made it seem like the good guys in there all turned to dust. With Infinity, right? When he had the Infinity ring, right? The Infinity is the 8. So he made it seem like he was a character, right? He was played, Thanos played like this character that was purple, right? It's the purple pilling. It's the merging of both all the rainbow energy, but he was purple. So the purple being, which is like basically your crown, holding all spectrums of light, which is the grander bandwidth, basically all the rainbow energy. That's why they invert the rainbow, make the purple on the bottom as opposed to the top. They're inverting everything. They don't turn to no one positive. There isn't anyone positive or service to others that turns to dust. It's them who turn to dust. That's why they don't. That's why you see the vampires when they get exposed to light. That's basically illumination. That's Luciferian light. When they're exposed to light of who they are, they turn to dust. Okay, that's all about them. That's Cap. They turn to dust in the end game. Okay, so they made it seem like it's the good guys. It isn't. It is them. That's why they project how they feel about what happens to them. They project it on humanity because they want you to take that on. Okay, also with the Matrix, when Cypher, because we found out that Cypher, because the concept of Cypher, 360 degrees, remember Cypher is 360 degrees. What does it represent? The completion, right? Cypher was the character that sold out his homies on the ship, but say it for me, y'all. Nebuchadnezzar. Cypher represented Nebuchadnezzar. I can't pronounce it now. Nebuchadnezzar. You know what I'm talking about, right? So remember, he sold out his homies on the ship, and he represented Cypher, 360 degrees of completion. Completion is a 9, okay? He sold out his homies to the Smiths. He said, hey, make me into a superstar or something. You know what I'm saying? Hook me up when you hook me back up into the Matrix. Remember he showed you? Because he knew he was going to wake up what? He knew he was going to be, he knew he was connected to what? The simulation, basically being fed off like a battery inside of that cryo state that he knew. So he wanted to be set up. So what happened? He woke up and he disconnected everybody else. I'm going to tell you that's cap. What it is they try to project, because when you wake up out of the simulation, that's why they try to lower your vibration at the end. When all of the simulations, when all the loops end, they try to tell you and lower you because they can't have you leave. Because when you leave, guess who gets to disconnect these bastards, these crazy maniacs and sociopaths inside of the simulation? We disconnect them. We take them out. We take out their cord inside of their cryo state, because they're maniacs. They aren't leveling up. They're staying in this simulated world because that's the only way they can be king. That's why the wealthiest in here are all limited, because they're only limited to the constructs of this place. They're king of Babylon. This is only where they rule. So they're doing this, but they won't have you wake up out of the simulation because you disconnect them. It wasn't Cypher. It was code. Cypher was 9. It was completion. He was selling it out, making it seem like him selling out, he was able to wake up. They aren't able to wake up if they aren't leveled up. You have to be of a certain vibration to even have the elevation of being able to break through the seal. The 7th seal, that considers, the 7th seal, they say when you break the 7th seal, basically it's saying when you get to the end, you break the seal, and that's when it gets the sealing. A seal is a sealing, okay? That's basically what that is. You break the seal. You break that last seal, and it breaks you through the firmament, okay? It breaks your projected mind is out. You get to Exodus, X out of here. The cross now turns to an X, and that allows you to leave. That's why X is being referenced all over the place. That's why planet X is always referenced at this time, because it means exit. X marks the spot. Exodus. That's all reference to that. Oh my God, I'm on fire. Okay, so that in itself, Cypher was code. That means it's a completion, and you could wake up, but it isn't them that wakes up, it's you, if you find the exit, okay? And they make sure that you notice that even with the last eclipse, with the big eclipse that happens next year, there's an X that formulates with the eclipse next year in 2024, okay? The whole concept of the pole shift happens at that time. Hold on. I'm sorry. Okay, it's so much. Okay, so you have Cypher who wakes up, the Infinity Wars. It wasn't infinity, is basically the rainbow. That's why I experienced the rainbow event. X, you have to go to your exit points. There's exit reference points. The 11 represents the pillars. So you have to find your exit points, and each person has where they began and where they ended. You have to go to where you began in the simulation in order to leave, okay? You have to go there, and that's why they're going to limit your movement in the simulation in this holodeck. They're going to limit. Remember, let me explain something, y'all. Distance is an illusion. There isn't any such, that whole concept of distance and things being far apart. Most of us are sleeping in one room in a yellow submarine underneath the Arctic, projecting ourselves in this reality until we wake up. Even the concept of the sentinels digging, remember in the last Matrix, not the one, that corny one, but remember the last Matrix when they had the sentinels breaking into Zion? That's the simulation. Those are the simulated people. Those are the NPCs. That's why they're digging over in Antarctica. They're trying to get to us who are projecting ourselves out into this reality. They want to get to the bodies. That's why you see the sentinels. The sentinels represent them, AI. They're basically trying to dig into where we are so that they can stop our awakening. Because when we wake up, we can pull their cords. We can disconnect them from the simulation. They only exist in this artificial construct. They only are this great and this grand and this beautiful and this whatever they're illuminating because they're in here. It's an artificial world. They can only be God in here. Once we pull their plug, they aren't able to exist. They only have hijacked the system and found a way to kind of live as vampires vampires in this system by living off of living bodies. That's why they're harvesting organs. They're trying to preserve themselves and stockpile bodies so that they can put them underneath the ground during this reset. They're trying to coexist and live here until reset so they can come back and reorganize themselves and stimulate humanity in the way that they see fit, in the way that they want to organize it. That's why also at the end, the others understand that they're trying to muddy you. They're trying to dirty you. They're trying to dirty you in the simulation, because the lower vibrational you are is the more limited, and you have an ability to climb up the ladder like Jack and the Beanstalk. Okay, Jack and the Beanstalk. Remember, his mama said, you know, she gave him some money, and she said, she gave him money and to go buy a cow, right? And instead he got beans. Okay, beans represents, you know, things that can be seeded, right? A seed. And then when he came home and he brought the beans, mama wasn't happy with that. So she threw the beans outside and they germinated and they created the bridge to outside the firmament, right? Where the giants were. So, you know, even the concept of all these stories are basically references of all of the aspects of you climbing and leaving. But really in itself, the firmament is above, but really the exit is below. That's why they always give you the concept of hell. They tell you hell is a bad place. It's beneath your feet. They bury you underneath the ground. But really, in order to leave here, you aren't going to leave upwards. You're going to go downwards. That's another form of projection of trying to invert the way that you leave. So most people are looking for God above, and it isn't themselves above, it's you below, because we're underneath the firmament. We're in the yellow. We all live in a yellow submarine. We're all in the yellow brick road that tells you, because that's the yellow grid. We're all underneath. We aren't above. So they make you look up when really you're supposed to look down, because really down is where we are. And then also, they want to give you the most limited form of the construct of the matrix. So they'll tell you, hey, you want to go to 5D? You want to achieve 5D. They give you the lowest. 5D is the lowest frequency that can coexist inside of the firmament. So you keep saying that you want to go to 5D, but what you do is you keep doming yourself and limiting yourself to only the construct of vibration and frequency inside the firmament. 5D is inside the firmament. You would have to go above and outside the construct of frequency in order to access the outside. 5D, that's why they keep telling you. That's why you get all this love and light, 5D, 4D. Oh, we go into 4D. They're going to do that. They're going to generate the lowest frequency, making it seem, because it's the highest in the firm. So you still have you see how they do that? They project something that's true, that it's higher than 3D inside of the construct of this simulation, but it's still inside. It's still the limited number of frequency and dimensional frequency in inside of the firmament. So people keep saying it, and then you don't realize that even when you say 5D and 5G, you're literally giving power, and you're encapsulating yourself inside the limitation of the firmament. And I already talked about the fact of all of these so-called Mandela effects. These are just basically updates. These are updates in the simulation. The simulation has updates. Every time it has an update, just like your phone. Your phone will get an update, and then certain constructs in your phone change, like little things, variances show up on your phone. So those are just basically updates. So how you recognize the NPC is because they only know the updates. They aren't able to really reference the original constructs that existed here, because they're all part of or they could have came here during the updates. So they could have been injected or basically incarnated here during an update. That could be a possibility too, but I don't think so. I think the NPC would only have the updates, just like the phone. So that in itself, if they aren't able to reference the actual original construct of what you came in when you were stamped into this matrix simulation, they only have updates. Most likely, if they're a being that was born in your same time frame and they only have updated information, most likely they're an NPC. That's why you're seeing people disappearing all over the place. It is the end. There's only a limited amount of data inside of this construct you call Earth simulation. Earth simulation only has 3 loops, 110. It only has 3 11s. So that's the 33 degree. They know that 33 degree is most likely when you can leave, and that's why they're afraid of it. They call themselves the 33 degree Masons, but basically in itself, what they're saying is they acknowledge the fact that it takes 3 of those loops, the 110, you know, the 1 the 3 of those 11s to basically break out of the simulation or have the ability to up level out of the simulation. That's my theory. I hope it was okay. I have so much more. It's just, I give you everything. I'm in the zone, so I come with you. Please put a like on the video if you're up with the shenanigans, if you're okay with the share that I gave you. Like I said, I know sometimes I don't know, or I know, but as we're going in, Zoom, YouTube puts a copyright as I'm on. So someone, like, you don't understand. So what it is AI. It's like the Sentinels. They're looking for little cracks in my channel so that they can try to go for me. You know what I mean? So the Sentinels, the AI, the Smithitarians were coming for me while we're on building. You know what I'm saying? We all live in a yellow. So follow the yellow brick road. Follow the yellow brick road. Follow the yellow brick road, right? So everything is yellow. Yellow is the grid, like the yellow grid road. It's a grid. When you look and your eye is wide open, you'll see the yellow grid. That's the construct of the matrix. It's made into, like, it looks like honeycombs. It looks like honeycombs. It looks like little honeycombs. When you can see it, you can see the actual grid that's around you. If you follow the yellow grid, you're actually going to see the exit points. You have to follow your exit. Your exit is something that you always knew. From the time you were a child, from the time you were in the simulation, there's always a construct that you knew. You had this feeling about a place. You knew this feeling, you always felt connected to something. It could be where you are. It could be where you need to go, but there's an exit point. I am the Moses in this contract. I come in as this particular avatar to basically usher people to their exit points. I'm here to usher you out of Babylon if you are a real being. Like Pinocchio said, I want to be a real boy. I'm sorry, yo. And you guys will come up with better things. I build with you, so remember, you're getting, like, even someone who said the 1914 plus the 110 equals 2024. You know what I mean? That's the next world war. Okay. So please refrain from thinking anything is real. And also, I'm going to give you a little hint. If you take a side, then you are going to be, if you take a side, meaning that if you take black or white, if you take Muslims versus Jews, if you take Christians versus Buddhists, if you take Democrat versus Republican, you are still limited to the constructs of polarities, of duality. That means you're going to stay stuck because you're taking on the karmic debt. We're going to 0 point. 0 point is where you want to be. That's the exit, and the entrance is 0. You know, when the Stargate opens, it looks like a 0. Okay, so when you basically take a side, if you take any political side, if you keep hearing people saying, well, the Democrats, those are the demons, and the Democrats, those are people who are still limited to a form of religion. That's a form of religion. I'm a polyatheist. If you take on a side, you take on a position, and you take the karmic debt with that side. Oh my God, I hate Israel, or I love Israel. Israel's the best, or I love Palestine, or I hate Palestine. You should take a position of you uniformly basically rebuking and rejecting anything that is harmful to any innocent people. And really in itself, if you understand that there isn't any victims in here, then everybody's getting what they get. You understand? Everybody gets what they get. Every form of things that are being progenerated in here is to give you the illusion of polarities and duality. And in it itself, you have to stay in 0 point, because in one point, maybe Israel was right. And then 1 point, maybe Israel's wrong. Maybe 1 point, Palestine is right and Palestine is wrong. Maybe 1 point, black is right and black is wrong. It all has both. So you taking a side is taking a position. You're going to bring in karmic debt. Everybody has right and wrong in them. Everybody has light and dark in with them. And if you understand that you aren't going to take a position, you have compassion for that those who are unaware. That's really what itself. We shouldn't even say good or bad anymore. We should just say, you know, we have compassion, and we have compassion for people who are unaware. Because if you're taking any strong position, or you've injected yourself and incarnated yourself in a world where you're experiencing extreme duality, then you are unaware. You have to level yourself up and overcome that duality by experiencing and having compassion for that which you see as your shadow. Because in it itself, you aren't supposed to expel your shadow. You're supposed to incorporate your shadow. You're supposed to reintegrate your shadow. When you demonize your shadow, you basically bring in more. Oh darn, the chemtrails are coming, y'all. Yo, they coming for me, yo. They coming. Oh my God. They coming. We all live in a yellow submarine. Oh, y'all, they're spraying as I speak. Happy Halloween. Oh my God. Happy Halloween. That's Nebuchadnezzar is the yellow submarine. You're right, Mackenzie. The yellow submarine is the Nebuchadnezzar. We all live in a yellow submarine. Yellow submarine. Yellow submarine. Oh my God. And what is the one color that protects you against so-called the color blue, right? Because blue is illuminate. Remember, blue represents Lucifer, Luciferian. The blue is also the protective thing. It represents the sky and the water, right? So remember, people always think that blue is the color of the water, but really blue is the color of the water reflecting the sky. So it's all a projection, y'all. It's all cap. The water isn't blue. The water is clear. It's reflecting what the color is up top. That's why it doesn't attack blue whenever they have like some sort of like laser attack, because blue is everywhere. You know what I mean? So basically, when you look into green, when you look into the glasses, which are yellow glasses, to avert the blue, you get green. And green is the heart. Green is actually the green screen too. You kind of see the illumination of everything, right? So everything's a reflection, okay? In order for you to leave, you got to complete your program too. Because if you came in here if you're getting repeating cycles, because remember, we talk about the bigger loop, but if things in your life are constantly coming back in cylindrical patterns of loops, that means you haven't overcome. It's like a video game. If you keep going, like I always say when I play the video game, when I'm like in Resident Evil, I always reference it because that's the video game, the only major one I played. Like when you're in a Resident Evil and you keep going in a loop because you aren't accomplishing what you're supposed to accomplish, because you came into a game, a simulation, to accomplish or complete something. If you keep going in the cylindrical pattern, you aren't getting it. You got to complete your mission in that loop, or so the loop can go away. Like if you go in a room and then all of a sudden you're like in a simulation, like it keeps happening. The same people keep coming in different things. So you're gonna keep having repeating things until you complete your whatever it is. You got to break the loop. In order to break the loop, you have to stop looping. You have to stop the pattern of looping. So you have to break it. So if you're repeating things, you're repeating music, you're repeating the same behavior, expecting a different reaction, then that's what they call maniacs, right? Crazy, right? So you have to complete it. So it's very important, if you keep getting similar things happening with different characters or same characters, and it's basically recycling. Yes, you have to break the loop. That's the only way you're going to be able to leave, because breaking that seal, that sealing, breaking the seal, remember they say the 7 seals is more than 7 seals, probably 13 seals. When you break the seal, that's when you're able to get past the level. Watch Inception. Watch the movie. Listen, big up to Ashe. I don't know if it was Del Mache or Ashe. One of you told me to watch the movie Bodies. Y'all, if you want to get further purple pill today on Halloween, because listen, y'all, everything is open during the veil, right? If you want to get it, watch Bliss. Watch Inception, and watch the show Bodies on, because if you didn't watch, I told you always to watch Cloud Atlas. Cloud Atlas gives you a concept of things recycling. Those are the loops when they get incarnated and doing the same thing until they finally complete it. If you watch the last movie, Bodies, whoever told me, I don't know if it's Ashe or Delmashe, I don't know who told me. I binged it yesterday. Oh my God, it takes Cloud Atlas to a whole nother level. It's all a cylindrical pattern. You got to break the loop. When she broke it, She returned and she went through the loop again. And the brown woman, because she got a wider bandsmith, who broke the loop? The brown woman broke the loop, y'all. Watch the movie Bodies. Watch the movie Bodies and you'll see what I mean. It was until she went through and she realized what she had to do. She broke the loop. She broke the pattern and basically broke the spell. I'm sorry I'm yelling. Hello, everyone. Please put a like in my video if you're up for the shenanigans today. You have a couple of bits of homework today, okay? Bodies. Oh, yes. It's so good. It's so good. Oh, hello. Woo! And let me state this, like I said before, there isn't any book I read. There isn't anybody who told me this. This is all FleurBrun. So if somebody on another channel is going to utilize this information, tell them to put some respect on FleurBrun. A lot of people come to this channel and they go and act like they brand new. They coming on their channel sharing information that I shared. It's not saying information isn't someone's, but at least give credit to the one who kind of broke the spell. My God. So tell them to put some respect on FleurBrun for coming in with the shenanigans. We all live in a yellow submarine, a yellow submarine. Put some respect on FleurBrun. They always come in, you know, people act like they don't know me. You know what I mean? You ever meet someone, they act like they don't know you, but they spit in everything that you do. They dress like you, they act like you, they trying to be you, but they don't know you. You don't know me. You don't know me. Woo! I'm saying, y'all, you know. Does everyone feel good being purple pilled? I don't think I hurt you today being purple pilled, right? Yeah. Make sure you aren't taking sides, okay? So if you're seeing the war is basically to lower, all this is lower vibrational things. You're seeing the lowest vibrational people being put in the highest position as celebrities. So you see all of these characters now that are celebrities. You see Nicki Minaj, you see Cardi B, you see Meg Thee Stallion, which is a man, allegedly. You see all these characters playing these over-sexualized, non-connective kind of characters. That's why they want to influence you so you lower your vibration. If you mimic these characters by doing and emulating them, you basically you're allowing yourself, because remember, a vampire can't come into your house until what? You give them an invitation, right? You let them come in. So when you let these people into your mindscape and you allow them to influence you and to lower your vibratory frequency, are you a victim, or are you just basically unaware, or you're just apathetic and allowing things to influence you? Okay, so it's important for you to understand that everything low is being illuminated now. All the lowest form, like everybody looks like they've been flushed down a toilet. All of these people have tattoos all over their faces. They look like something out of like the leftovers of when you flush a toilet and it comes back up, right? These people are just, the women are just subjecting themselves to all forms of bodily modification. You are who you came in to be. That's why they want you to alter your avatar, because you came in with the concept that this avatar that you chose, it has all of these perfect forms of information and access. So when you change the avatar that you chose, you're altering the field of information or bandwidth that you have access to. It's very important for you to leave your body. So your hair, leaving your hair natural, that's your bandwidth. Why would you want to straighten your hair? Why would you want to dye your hair? Dye, listen to the word dye. So when you dye your hair, so you're killing your frequency, why would you want to do that? Why would you want to alter your body? The form of your body has a certain emanation or intaking of certain frequencies. You are perfect as you came in because you chose that avatar, especially at the end cycle. That's why they're doing all this bodily modification right now. All this trans, qu'est-ce que c'est? It's like it's about changing your body, morphing your body, changing it, because they want you to be non-harmonic. You have to, especially if you chose this avatar at this time, at the end loop, when you had the ability to exodus, go to planet X, whatever you consider, it needs to be intact. So however you show up, listen, I've always been a thickums. I'm a thickums now. I'm gonna be a thickums when I leave here, okay? I chose this avatar and I'm accepting myself as I am. Before, when I came on YouTube, I felt a certain way when people were always referencing that your breasts are too big, your skin is too dark, your hair is too nappy, your hair is too straight, your nose is too wide, you're too black, you're too light, you talk too white, you talk too urban, you reference things. I used to take in other people's projection or perception of me until I recognized that I was okay as me and I chose me to be me. What's wrong with being someone who looks like me? Like, why should I look like everyone else? Is that wrong? I eat regular. I'm healthy. I do healthy things. And if this is the way that my body presents itself at this time, that means that it's the way I'm supposed to be at this particular time at the end, friend. Okay? I'm not eating Dunkin' Donuts. Many of you know me for years. I fast, I eat well. I do have coffee occasionally. That's my one vice in this avatar experience. That's the one thing I do enjoy. I'm not eating sweets and sugar. I do alkalines. I grow my own herbs and food. I take care of my family. I love my children. I love my mom and dad. I love my family. I take care of the earth. I recycle. That's the way I'm supposed to show up. So why should I constantly be a victim? Because I'm not, because everybody else's projection. And I also told you, you get the most attacked when you're the highest in the simulation. The higher you are in the simulation, the more that you're demonized. The higher in the simulation is the more that they'll take your physical look and create. That's why all black people are being vilified. That's why all over the simulation, they attack the darkest skinned people with the most coarse hair, because they have the wider bandwidth. And it doesn't mean that the other ones that are doing nefarious things are them. It just means that they are going to create avatars and NPCs that look like brown people that do the most nefarious things. So it gives credence to the others who are beings who have less bandwidth to vilify all brown people. But if they had wisdom, they understand that having that avatar and being able to accrue that type of avatar at the end, when that would be the avatar that is most vilified, that meant that they had a higher level of criteria that allowed them to accrue that kind of avatar to take in the most amount of bandwidth. Okay? There are a lot of beings, all those nefarious ones that are going in Target, beating up people. Those are all NPCs, but they're purposefully done. That's why you see all brown people vilified, put at the lowest level in the social economic level. They're supposed to do that because it's a video game. It wouldn't be a challenge if you weren't challenged. I would have to come in as this and overcome those, because that means that I have the highest ability to leave. That's all that means. Whether I leave or not, that's on me. Okay? All right, y'all. That's why prejudices are perfect. It's perfect to have. Prejudices are a perfect form of progeneration in here because it works in alignment with what is necessary to level up. If you were living in the construct of a world, a simulation that only valued you, and you were put on the pedestal of beauty standards and a perfection, that means you aren't the highest. You're the beginning of Pac-Man. You're the Pac-Man that just came in. You are basically kind of like you have a screen of protection a little bit because you're new. So you aren't going to have as many negations of how you look. You're not going to have all the aversions of being marginalized as a woman. You're not going to have all the demonization of you because you just came in. So you are basically the Pac-Man that can go around. You can have a certain amount of cherries. You know, there aren't any ghosts coming for you, right? But when you get to the mid-level, okay, so now you may come in as a group that's marginalized to a certain degree. So maybe you come in as an Asian at a time when they're vilifying Asians. Maybe you're coming in as a woman when they're marginalizing women. Maybe you're coming in with some sort of physical impediment because you need to overcome that. That means you're at the intermediate, so you have a certain amount of aversion, meaning you have a certain, the whole construct of the simulation has a perception that's lower of you, so you got to overcome that. That means you're at the intermediate level. Then when you come as the most vilified being, like the Haitians must be high on the tier because they being attacked all over the place in the Congo. Like I know know that whatever they are, and remember, it's not all Haitians because there's only 144,000. So there may be only a handful of souls in that group. But why they vilify that is because it's a group that has the capability of leaving. So they're at the highest level of Pac-Man. All the ghosts and monsters and goblins are coming for them. They got to run left and right. They got to overcome all these aversions because they're highest in the tier, because they have the capability of completing the game and leaving and waking up. The easier the life, the lower the tier of where you are. The more aversions and I don't want to say attacks because there isn't anybody who's victim. The more aversion and challenges means that you've accrued the ability to overcome those challenges. So it's perfect. So I'm so grateful of who and what I am. I'm grateful I came here in the avatar. I'm appreciative for how I am and how I'm emanating. And the fact of the matter is, if I was such a lower vibrational being, that means that I would have a limited broadband. The fact that I'm able to accrue this information, me physically, by my own means, by going externally to anything else other than to reference the things that I'm able to follow through when I'm going and following the yellow rabbit, that means that I'm exactly how I'm supposed to be, as you are. Okay, so if you have the level of awareness, that means the avatar you chose is perfectly aligned with the level and the things that you're supposed to accrue to complete this cycle, if in fact you're going to wake up out of the simulation. Any questions? Please put a like on the video, because they just YouTube just put a copyright on me for I don't know what, saying that someone's claimed something. So it seems like somebody who was kicked out of the room has done something nefarious. But gratefully, I will be in another stratosphere in a minute. Okay, so I hope that was a great purple pill for y'all today on Halloween. Okay, hopefully everybody, and listen, build upon it. This is my concept that I created, and it just came to me. So I hope that this was helpful. Okay, build upon it, share it, or if it isn't something that resonates with you, put it in the back. Okay, so that's all. Remember the rabbit? What was the Bugs Bunny was like? That's all, folks. That's all, folks. Okay, so hopefully it's okay. If we're supposed to come on tonight on Werribee, I mean, if these are things we want to discuss a little further, we could also come together and kind of discuss it. So that's it. Thank you. I'm grateful for you coming in and just listening and what I had to share. I appreciate it. All right, so everybody, I want you to have an amazing day or evening. Say no to wand and spirits today, because remember, you're very, things can mount you if you're expressing yourself, because remember, the veil is wide open. Please engage with your ancestors as necessary. If you feel so, the veil is really open and it's a beautiful time. I had some of the Native women in the local area that came to me, and I'm really grateful for them, feeling I was in alignment with them to be able to come to me in the astral plane. So I'm really appreciative. Stay out of other people's business, refrain from taking sides, and really stay above the rim. Okay, so I really appreciate you. Thank you very much. And I will talk to you later. Peace. We all live in a yellow submarine, yellow submarine.